Picture this. It's Easter Sunday. Your family's gathered around a beautifully set table, laughing over honey-glazed ham and clinking wine glasses. Sounds like a Hallmark movie, right? Except then, your sister hands you a coffee mug that says, "Don't ask why, just pay and smile." Everyone cracks up, except you. Because in that moment, you realize you're not their brother, not their son. You're their personal ATM. And what happens next? Let's just say secrets explode, and I'm the one lighting the fuse. Buckle up, this is my story, and it's wild. I'm just a regular guy who thought family meant everything. For 5 years, I wired my family $72,000 to keep them afloat. Dental emergencies, car repairs, overdue HOA fees. You name it, I paid it. I canceled work trips, skipped vacations, and emptied my savings to be the dependable one. But Easter 2024? That was the day I saw the truth. And it wasn't pretty. The dining room in my parents' suburban Ohio home looked like it belonged on Pinterest. A pastel table runner, a floral centerpiece glowing under the chandelier, and the smell of Linda's signature ham wafting from the kitchen. My mom, Linda, sat at the head of the table, her pearl earrings catching the light as she swirled her second glass of Chardonnay. My dad, Tom, was slouched at the other end, scrolling ESPN scores on his phone like the world depended on it. My sister Emma was in full Instagram mode, snapping selfies in the $350 Anthropologie dress I'd Venmo'd her for because Easter vibes matter. Her fiancé, Jake, was shoveling mashed potatoes like he was at an all-you-can-eat buffet. And me? I was trying to blend in, ignoring the unpacked suitcase in my car from a work trip I'd cut short to be here. Then Emma slid a white coffee mug across the table, her manicured nails glinting. "For you, big bro," she said with a smirk. I picked it up, and my stomach dropped. Black letters mocked me. "Don't ask why, just pay and smile." The table burst into laughter. Linda raised her glass, her voice dripping with fake warmth. "To our hero, always saving the day." Tom snorted without looking up. Jake choked on a dinner roll, grinning like it was the funniest thing ever. I forced a smile, but my chest tightened. This wasn't a gift. It was a middle finger. "Emma," I said, keeping my voice steady, where'd you get this?" She leaned back, tossing her balayage highlights. "Oh, I had it made at the mall. Thought it fit you perfectly. You're always stressing about why you're the one bailing us out. It's just a joke. Chill." Linda nodded, her smile sharp as a razor. "She's right, honey. You're our rock. Don't be so sensitive." Sensitive? I just wired $18,000 last month. $6,000 for Linda's emergency root canal, her second in 2 years. $7,000 for Emma's minor fender bender that somehow needed a whole new bumper. And $5,000 to cover their mortgage because Tom miscalculated his freelance gigs. I'd driven 6 hours through a snowstorm to pick Tom up from the ER last winter because Emma was booked at a spa. And now, here I was, holding a mug that laughed at my sacrifices. But then the first bomb dropped. Jake, wiping butter off his chin, muttered, "A joke? That's bold, Emma, considering you've been dipping into his account for your little shopping sprees." The room froze. Linda's glass hovered midair, wine sloshing. Tom's phone clattered onto the table. Emma's jaw dropped, her face turning the color of her overpriced dress. "Jake," she hissed, kicking him under the table. "What are you doing?" I leaned forward, my heart pounding. "Dipping into my account? What's he talking about, Emma?" "It's nothing," she snapped, but her eyes darted to Linda for backup. "He's drunk, okay? Ignore him." Jake stood, his face red. "Drunk? I saw the bank alerts, Emma. $3,000 for that Gucci purse you've been flexing on Insta. You told me it was a gift from him." He pointed at me, his voice shaking. "But he didn't know, did he?" My vision blurred with rage. $3,000. Not a car repair, not a medical bill. A purse. I looked at Emma's dress, Linda's wine, Tom's silence. It hit me like a freight train. I wasn't family, I was their sugar daddy. $3,000, I said, my voice low and dangerous. "You stole from me for a bag?" Linda jumped in, her voice shrill. "This is ridiculous. It's Easter, for God's sake. Stop this nonsense." "Nonsense?" I roared, slamming the mug down. It cracked, a jagged line splitting the hateful words. $72,000, Linda. That's what I've given you all in 5 years. Your teeth, Emma's car, Tom's emergencies. And you repay me by stealing and laughing about it? Tom finally spoke, his voice gruff. "Watch your tone, son. We're still your parents. Parents? I laughed, bitter and cold. Parents don't treat their kid like a cash machine. You know what? I'm done. I pulled out my phone, opened my banking app, and started tapping. Emma, your car insurance? Canceled. Title's in your name now. Those joint credit cards? Locked. Happy Easter. Emma screamed, lunging for my phone. You can't do that. I'll lose my car. I stepped back out of reach. You lost it when you thought stealing from me was a personality trait? Linda clutched her chest, playing the martyr. You're breaking this family apart. How could you? I looked at her, then Emma, then Tom. Their faces a mix of shock and guilt. Breaking it? You broke it years ago. I just stopped paying for the pieces. I grabbed my keys and walked out, the door slamming behind me. My phone buzzed immediately. Emma. You're a monster. My car's getting towed tomorrow. Linda. Come back, we can fix this. I turned it off. The first secret had exploded, but I had a feeling more were coming. I thought walking out that door meant freedom, but families like mine? They don't let go without a fight. The next morning, a text from Jake revealed a secret so big. It made that Gucci purse look like pocket change. And when I started digging, I found a paper trail that could destroy everything they'd built. Want to know what it was? I woke up in my Columbus apartment, the silence almost eerie. No missed calls from Linda begging for just a little help. No Venmo requests from Emma for her latest emergency. Just the hum of my coffee maker and the unpacked suitcase from my interrupted work trip staring me down. For the first time in years, I felt free. But freedom comes with a catch, and mine was about to hit. My phone buzzed as I sip my Starbucks oat milk latte. A text from Jake. Can we talk? Alone. It's about Linda. My stomach twisted. Jake wasn't the type to stir the pot unless it was serious. Against my better judgment, I replied, Meet me at Brood Cafe, 10 a.m. No games. Brood was one of those hipster spots with exposed brick and overpriced avocado toast. Perfect for a low-key meetup. Jake showed up looking like he hadn't slept since Easter. His flannel was wrinkled and his eyes darted around like he expected Emma to pop out of a latte foam heart. Thanks for coming, he said, sliding into the booth. I owe you an apology for last night. Save it, I said, cutting him off. You said this is about Linda. Spill. He leaned in, voice low. Linda's been lying to you? Those emergency payments you sent her? They weren't just for dental work or HOA fees. She's been funneling your money into some sketchy investment group with her book club friends. I overheard her at their last wine night, bragging about how she's secured over $20,000 from you for it. I gripped my coffee mug so hard I thought it'd crack. $20,000. Not for root canals or groceries, for some shady side hustle? What kind of investment? I asked, my voice tight. Jake shrugged, uneasy. I don't know the details, but it's bad. She called it a sure thing, but one of her friends was freaking out about losing everything. I think it's a scam, and Linda's in deep. My mind raced back to every tearful call from Linda. Honey, we're drowning in bills. Just this once, I promise. All lies. I'd been funding her fantasy of striking it rich, while she laughed at me over Easter ham. But Jake wasn't done. There's more, he said, glancing at the door like he was scared of being caught. Emma knows. She's been helping Linda cover it up. That's why she's so pissed you cut her off. She's scared you'll dig into the accounts and find out. I felt like I'd been punched. Emma, my little sister, wasn't just a mooch. She was an accomplice. The $3,000 purse was just the tip of the iceberg. Why are you telling me this? I asked, searching his face for a trap. Jake sighed, running a hand through his hair. Because I'm done lying for them. I've watched Emma treat you like a cash machine for years, and I didn't say anything. But last night, when you smashed that mug, I realized you're not the pushover they think you are. I don't want to be part of this anymore. I didn't know whether to thank him or punch him for staying quiet so long. Instead, I nodded. I'm going to need proof. He slid a USB drive across the table. Bank statements, screenshots of texts between Emma and Linda. It's not everything, but it's a start. I pocketed the drive, my mind already spinning. If this is real, Jake, you just threw them under the bus. He gave a weak smile. Yeah, guess I'm learning how to say no, too. I spent the afternoon locked in my apartment, poring over the USB's contents. It was worse than I thought. Screenshots showed Linda texting Emma about the investment plan with phrases like, he'll never check the accounts and just keep him sweet till we cash out. One transfer log had my name on it, $8,000 labeled dental emergency, but a corresponding Venmo from Linda to someone named Carla with the memo group fund. Carla. I vaguely remembered her. a loud woman from Linda's book club who always smelled like cheap rosé and desperation. By evening, I'd frozen every account Linda had access to and hired a financial advisor to trace the money. But the real storm hit when Emma showed up at my door unannounced at 7 p.m. I opened the door and there she was. Hair in a messy bun, mascara smudged like she'd been crying, but her eyes burned with fury. "You're a real piece of work, you know that," she spat, pushing past me into my living room. "Nice to see you too," I said, closing the door. "What's this about? Your car get towed yet?" She spun around, pointing a finger at me. "Don't play dumb. Jake told me you met up. What lies did he feed you?" "No lies," I said, crossing my arms. "Just the truth about you and Linda's little investment scam. $20,000 of my money, Emma. You knew, and you covered for her." Her face flickered. Guilt, then defiance. "You're blowing this out of proportion. It's not a scam. It's a business opportunity. Mom's just trying to get ahead, and you're too selfish to understand." "Selfish?" I laughed, stepping closer. "I paid for your life, Emma. That dress, your car, your fender bender. That was really a drunken joyride. And you repay me by stealing and lying?" She flinched but didn't back down. "You think you're so perfect, huh? Always the martyr, waving your checkbook like it makes you better than us. Well, newsflash, I'm done begging. You want to play hardball? I'll play." "What's that supposed to mean?" I asked, my gut tightening. She pulled out her phone, smirking. "Check Instagram stories in an hour. I'm telling everyone how you abandoned your family, left us broke, and screwed me over. People love a sob story, and I'm really good at crying on camera." I stared at her, stunned. My little sister, the one I'd bailed out of every mess since college, was threatening to drag me online. "You're gonna lie to the world to save face?" I said, my voice low. "Not lies," she said, heading for the door. "Just my truth. Good luck explaining why you're the bad guy." She slammed the door, leaving the air heavy with her perfume and her threat. That night, I couldn't sleep. Emma's words echoed in my head, but so did Jake's. I opened my laptop and dug into the USB files again, cross-referencing with my bank records. By 2 a.m., I'd found a name: Carla Reynolds. A quick Google search pulled up a local news article from 6 months ago. Carla was under investigation for running a pyramid scheme disguised as a women's investment club. The article mentioned multiple victims losing thousands with promises of guaranteed returns. Linda's book club was starting to look like a crime scene. I texted my financial advisor, forwarding the article. "Check if Linda's linked to this. I want everything." Then I checked Instagram. Emma's story was live, a tearful video of her in a dimly lit car, mascara streaking as she sobbed. "My own brother turned his back on us. We're losing everything because he's too selfish to help family. I don't know how we'll survive." The comments were already flooding in. "That's awful. What a jerk. Stay strong, girl." My blood boiled, but I didn't react. Not yet. Emma thought she'd won, but she just started a war she couldn't finish. I screenshotted her story, saved it to my growing folder of evidence, and made a decision. If they wanted to play dirty, I'd play smarter. Emma thought she could bury me with a few fake tears and an Instagram filter, but she had no idea what I was about to uncover. The next day, a call from an unexpected ally revealed a secret about Tom that made Linda's scam look like child's play. And when I confronted them all at their precious 4th of July barbecue, the explosion wasn't just fireworks. It was the end of everything they thought they could hide. Want to see how it goes down? Last time I found out my sister Emma wasn't just stealing my money for Gucci purses. She was helping my mom, Linda, funnel $20,000 of my cash into a shady pyramid scheme. When I confronted her, she stormed out, threatening to drag my name through the mud with a tearful Instagram story. I thought I'd seen the worst of their lies, but was I wrong? A single phone call the next day flipped my world upside down, revealing a secret about my dad, Tom, that made everything else look like a warm-up. And when I showed up at their 4th of July barbecue, let's just say the fireworks weren't the only thing exploding that night. Grab a snack. This one's a wild ride. I spent the day after Emma's visit staring at my laptop, the USB drive from Jake burning a hole in my pocket. Her Instagram story was still racking up views, with strangers calling me a heartless jerk for abandoning my family. My phone was blowing up, texts from Linda. "How could you let this happen?" As if I'd forced Emma to lie. I was one click away from blocking them all when Jake called. "Hey," he said, his voice tense, like he was whispering from a war zone. "You need to know something before Emma spins this any further. It's about Tom." I sat up, my heart racing. "What now?" He hesitated, then dropped the bomb. Tom's been seeing someone. Not just a fling, a full-on relationship. That friend you bailed out with $10,000 last year? It wasn't a buddy from poker night. It was her, Stacy, his assistant from 3 jobs ago. He's been using your money to keep her happy and quiet. My jaw hit the floor. Tom, the guy who barely looked up from his phone, was cheating on Linda and funding it with my money. You're sure? I asked, my voice shaking. I saw them, Jake said. Last summer at some dive bar in Dayton. Emma caught wind of it too, but Tom begged her to keep quiet. Paid her off with a new iPhone to shut her up. Why do you think she's so loyal to him? I felt sick. Every emergency Tom had pitched me, a broken furnace, a car loan, was a lie. I'd been bankrolling his double life. Why tell me now? I asked. Because it's eating me alive, Jake said. I'm done covering for them. But heads up, Emma's planning something big for the 4th of July barbecue. She's going to turn the whole neighborhood against you. I hung up, my mind spinning. Emma's Instagram stunt was bad, but a public smear campaign at the family's annual barbecue? That was next level. I opened my banking app, double-checking the locks I'd put on every account. Then I emailed my financial advisor, attaching Jake's screenshots and the article about Carla's pyramid scheme. Dig into Tom's transactions too. I want everything. The 4th of July was 3 days away, and I knew one thing for sure. I wasn't going to let them bury me. July 4th. In my parents' cul-de-sac was peak suburban America. Red, white, and blue bunting draped every mailbox. Kids ran through sprinklers, and the HOA president blasted Springsteen from a Bluetooth speaker. Linda and Tom's backyard was packed. Neighbors chugging Bud Lights, aunties gossiping over potato salad, and a bounce house for the kids who'd probably puke up their hot dogs later. The air smelled like charcoal and sunscreen, and a giant American flag flapped above their deck. I pulled up in my Honda, a thick folder tucked under my arm, bank statements, screenshots, and a legal letter from my advisor about the $72,000 debt. I hadn't planned on crashing their party, but Emma's latest Instagram live changed my mind. Posted that morning, it showed her fake crying in a star-spangled tank top. Some people turn their backs on family, but I'll always fight for mine. See you at the barbecue. The comments were brutal. Your brother's trash. You deserve better. She wanted a spectacle. I'd give her one. Linda spotted me first, her smile freezing as she clutched a tray of watermelon slices. What are you doing here? She hissed, pulling me toward the garage. This is a family event. Family? I said, loud enough for a few neighbors to glance over. Like the family that stole $20,000 from me for your investment club, Linda? Her face went white, but before she could answer, Emma stormed over, a solo cup in hand. You've got some nerve, she snapped, her voice carrying over the music. Trying to ruin our holiday now? The crowd hushed, sensing drama. Tom appeared from the grill, spatula in hand, his eyes narrowing. Jake lingered by the cooler, looking like he wanted to bolt. I took a deep breath and held up my folder. Ruin it? I'm just here to set the record straight. $72,000, Emma. That's what I've given you all. And you repay me with lies in this? I pulled out a printed screenshot of her Instagram story, waving it for the neighbors to see. Aunt Karen gasped. The HOA president turned down Sweet Carolyn. Emma laughed, but it was shaky. You're obsessed. It's just money. Get over it. Just money, I said, stepping forward. Let's talk about money. Linda, why don't you tell everyone about your book club with Carla Reynolds? The one under investigation for scamming people out of millions? Linda dropped the watermelon tray, fruit splattering on the grass. That's a lie, she screeched, but her voice cracked. Neighbors whispered, pulling out phones to Google Carla's name. I turned to Emma. And you knew, didn't you? Helped her cover it up while you were buying $3,000 purses with my cash. Real classy. Emma's face twisted with rage. You're pathetic airing dirty laundry like this. Dirty laundry, I said, my voice rising. Let's air it all then. Tom, why don't you tell Linda about Stacy? You know, the friend I paid $10,000 to last year? Or should I show everyone the hotel receipts Jake found? The backyard went dead silent. Linda's head snapped toward Tom, her eyes wide with betrayal. Stacy? She whispered, her voice breaking. Your assistant. Tom dropped the spatula, his face ashen. It's not, don't listen to him, Linda. But Jake stepped forward, unable to stay quiet. It's true, he said, his voice steady. I saw them last summer. Tom's been lying to you for years. Linda screamed, shoving Tom so hard he stumbled into the grill. 30 years of marriage, and you do this? She sobbed, tears streaming down her face. Neighbors gasped, some filming on their phones. Emma grabbed Linda's arm, trying to pull her away, but Linda yanked free. Don't touch me, Linda yelled at Emma. You knew about this and didn't tell me? Emma froze, caught in her own web. I didn't want to hurt you. I tossed the folder onto the picnic table, papers spilling out. It's all here, I said, addressing the crowd. Bank statements, texts, proof they've been bleeding me dry. I'm done. You owe me $72,000, and I'm giving you 60 days to start paying. Or I'm suing. That's a promise. The HOA president, a guy named Gary, picked up a statement, his jaw dropping. This is insane, he muttered, passing it to Aunt Karen. The crowd buzzed, phones out, some probably live streaming to the neighborhood Facebook group. Emma lunged for the folder, but I blocked her. Enough, I said, my voice cold. You wanted to play victim online? Now everyone knows the truth. I turned to leave, but Linda's voice stopped me. You're destroying us, she wailed, collapsing onto a lawn chair. You're no son of mine. I looked back, my heart heavy but resolute. You're right, I said. I'm not your son. I'm your ATM, and I'm officially out of service. I walked to my car, the sound of Linda's sobs and Tom's stammered excuses fading behind me. My phone pinged, Gary, texting me a link to the neighborhood group's live feed. The headline? Family drama blows up at BBQ. I didn't watch. I'd lived it. I thought exposing their lies at the barbecue would end it, but families like mine, they don't go quietly. A week later, Emma pulled one last stunt that pushed me to the edge, and a letter from my lawyer flipped the script entirely. This is the end of my story, and trust me, it's a doozy. Let's dive in. The week after the barbecue felt like the calm before a hurricane. My phone was quiet, no sobbing voicemails from Linda, no Venmo requests from Emma, no gruff texts from Tom. The neighborhood Facebook group was still buzzing about the BBQ blow-up, with screenshots of my folder circulating like wildfire. Part of me felt guilty. Had I gone too far, airing our mess in public? But then I'd remember Emma's fake tears on Instagram, Linda's pyramid scheme, Tom's secret girlfriend, Stacy. Guilt faded fast. I was at Target on a random Tuesday, tossing frozen pizzas into my cart, when my phone pinged. An email from my bank. Suspicious activity detected. Account access attempted. My heart sank. I logged in, and there it was. Someone had tried to reset my password 3 times in the last hour. The IP address traced to a Starbucks in Dayton, 5 miles from Emma's apartment. I called my financial advisor, Sarah, who'd been tracing Linda's scam. Lock everything down, I told her. It's Emma. She's trying to hack me. Sarah's voice was calm but firm. Already on it. I've got 2-factor authentication set up and a fraud alert. But there's something else. I found a joint account you co-signed with Linda 3 years ago. $15,000 withdrawn last month. No authorization. It's linked to Carla Reynolds' investment group. I'm drafting a legal notice to freeze their assets. I leaned against a display of Halloween candy, my head spinning. $15,000 more, stolen under my nose. File it, I said, and send them a demand letter for the full $72,000. No mercy. That night, I got a text from an unknown number. You're going to regret this. Check Twitter. I opened the app, and there it was. A thread from a burner account, tagged with my name. Meet the guy who bankrupted his own family, kicked his mom out of her house, left his sister homeless. Family values. Attached were grainy photos of me at the barbecue, holding the folder, looking like some villain from a reality show. The account had Emma's fingerprints all over it, her favorite hashtags, her flair for drama. It already had 200 retweets. I could have fired back, posted the bank statements, exposed her lies. But I'd learned something from the barbecue. Truth doesn't need a megaphone. It just needs time. I screenshotted the thread, forwarded it to Sarah, and added it to my evidence folder, now labeled Closure in Progress. Emma wanted a war. I'd let her dig her own grave. 2 days later, I got a call from Sarah that changed everything. You need to come to my office, she said, her voice tight with excitement. We've got them. I drove to her downtown Columbus office, a sleek space with glass walls and coffee that didn't taste like regret. Sarah slid a manila envelope across her desk. Open it. Inside was a legal notice, thick with jargon, but the highlights were clear. Linda's investment group was officially under state investigation for fraud. Carla Reynolds had flipped, naming Linda as a key recruiter who'd pocketed $50,000 in commissions, including my $20,000. The kicker? Linda had forged my signature on withdrawal forms, making it felony-level fraud. Sarah had already filed a lien on Linda and Tom's house to secure my $72,000, and the joint account was frozen pending a lawsuit. There's more, Sarah said, handing me a second document. Tom's been dodging taxes on his freelance gigs. The IRS got a tip. Anonymous, but I'm guessing Jake. If they don't pay up, they're looking at audits, maybe jail time. I stared at the papers, my hands trembling. This wasn't just repayment, it was justice. Linda, the queen of guilt trips, was a criminal. Tom, the silent cheater, was cornered. And Emma? She'd tied herself to their sinking ship. What do we do next? I asked. Sarah grinned. We send this. She held up a demand letter addressed to Linda, Tom, and Emma, outlining the $72,000 debt, the fraud, and the lien. They've got 30 days to start paying, or we sue. And with Carla's testimony, Linda's looking at real consequences. I nodded, a weight lifting off my chest. Send it. Certified mail, so they can't pretend they didn't see it. The letter hit like a missile. I got the delivery confirmation on a Friday, and by Saturday morning, my phone was a battlefield again. Linda left voicemail, sobbing. You're ruining us. How could you do this to your mother? Tom sent a single text. Call me. We can settle this. Emma, though, went nuclear. I was at a dive bar with a new friend, Matt, watching a Buckeyes game, when my phone lit up with notifications. Emma had gone live on Instagram, broadcasting from her apartment, mascara running like a bad soap opera. This is my truth, she wailed, holding up a copy of the demand letter. My brother's suing us for helping our family. He's got money to burn, but he'd rather see us homeless. The comments poured in, that's so messed up. What a greedy jerk. But then something shifted. A few followers, maybe Jake's friends, started posting, Wait, didn't you buy a Gucci bag with his cash? Why's your mom tied to a scam? Emma's face froze mid-sob, and she ended the live abruptly. Matt glanced at my phone, raising an eyebrow. Your sister's a hot mess, huh? Understatement of the year, I said, clinking my beer with his. But deep down, I knew Emma wasn't done. She never quit when she was cornered. Sure enough, Monday morning brought her final play. I woke up to an email from my boss. We need to talk. Got a weird tip about your finances. Attached was a forwarded message, anonymous but dripping with Emma's style, claiming I'd been embezzling company funds to bully my family. My stomach dropped. If this stuck, I could lose my job, my reputation, everything. I called Sarah, who was already on it. It's defamation, she said. We've traced the email to a VPN, but the wording matches Emma's Twitter thread. I'm filing a cease and desist today, and we'll countersue if she doesn't back off. I spent the day in damage control, showing my boss my bank records, clean as a whistle, and explaining Emma's vendetta. He believed me, but the stress was a gut punch. Emma had tried to ruin my life, one last desperate swing to keep control. That evening, as I sat in my apartment staring at a half-eaten pizza, my bank app pinged. A deposit. $5,000 from Emma. No memo, no explanation. I blinked, checking twice to make sure it wasn't a glitch. Then another ping. $1 from Linda. Memo. Please stop this. Tom sent $1. Memo. We're trying. I laughed, a real belly-deep laugh, for the first time in months. They were scared. The lawsuit, the lien, Carla's testimony, it was real. And they knew it. Emma's $5,000 wasn't remorse. It was panic. A Hail Mary to dodge a courtroom. I donated $2,000 to a local women's shelter, moved the rest to a new savings account called Freedom Fund, and updated my evidence folder, renaming it Closure Confirmed. A week later, I got word from Sarah. Linda and Tom were selling their house to settle debts, including mine. Emma had moved in with a friend, her Instagram gone silent. Jake texted me saying he'd filed for separation and was starting over in Cleveland. You were right, he wrote. Some families aren't worth saving. I didn't reply. I was done looking back. 3 months later, I stood in my new apartment in Denver, sunlight streaming through floor-to-ceiling windows. I'd taken a better job, less stress, more pay, and filled my place with plants, books, and zero baggage. I started hiking on weekends, joined a kickboxing gym, and even went on a date with a woman named Claire, who laughed at my dumb jokes and never once asked for a Venmo. On Black Friday, while everyone else was fighting over TVs at Walmart, I sat at a cozy diner with Matt and a few new friends, sharing fries and stories. Nobody knew about the $72,000, the mug, or the barbecue. They just knew me, flaws, dreams, and all. As I looked around the table, I realized this was it. Family. Not blood, not obligation, but people who showed up because they wanted to, not because they needed something. I raised my coffee mug. Not that cursed one, but a plain ceramic one I'd bought myself. To new beginnings, I said. Matt grinned, clinking his glass. And no more drama. I smiled, thinking of Emma's silent Instagram, Linda's sold house, Tom's empty excuses. They'd tried to break me, but they'd only set me free. I wasn't their ATM anymore. I was just me. And that was enough. So that's my story, from a human ATM to a guy who chose himself. If you've got a family secret that blew up your world, spill the tea in the comments. I'm dying to hear it. And if this hit home, smash that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell. Life's too short for toxic drama, so let's keep building our own happy endings. See you next time.